protection of the income is very important while they're alive and while they're gone. So that comes in the form of the income protection. It's the foundation. Everything else in our life comes with the instruction manual. Whether we buy electronics, whether we buy furniture, except the paycheck. If we don't have the education, we don't really know how to manage money.
Today we're exploring financial literacy and the path to long-term financial security for Canadian families.
Anyone who wants to just get ahead financially, you can start with the small stuff. It doesn't have to be big. Just start from small and you can always get bigger from that point.
Hi everyone, this is Maheen and welcome to the CanadianSME Small Business Podcast. Today we're exploring financial literacy and the path to long-term financial security for Canadian families. And joining us to discuss this is Hem Bhatt, the branch manager with PFSL Investments Canada Limited at Primerica. Now, with the over 22 years of experience, Hem helps families protect income, build savings, and plan for the future. In this episode, we'll discuss the foundations of financial literacy, opportunities in financial services, and strategies for building lasting wealth. So without further ado, let's welcome our guest, Hem. Hem, we're very pleased to have you on the show today. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Now, Hem, as I highlighted in my intro as well, you've dedicated over 2 decades to creating awareness about financial tools, especially for families who need a clear roadmap to security. Tell us, what are the fundamental concepts that every Canadian family should understand to establish a strong financial future, and why is literacy the first step?
Well, so here's the thing. Now, the financial literacy, when it comes to it, it starts with the 4 pillars. So I always look at the cash flow. I look at the debt management. I look at the protection and the investment strategies. Now, when it's already coordinated all together, then it becomes one strategy, which is a solid strategy which any family can simply follow. When it comes to finances, it's not a rocket science. It's just lack of strategy, right? So that's the problem. And then when we look at families, basically what happens is that most families have no idea where to start, how to start, or who should ask for help, because majority of the decisions about either they're looking for investments, they're looking for mortgages, or need the debt strategies or protection plan. They're all made in silos. It has to be customized, right? So it's about making sure that whatever they are doing, it is not just for the short term, but it is for the long term. So when their children are ready to go to university, when they are ready to retire, whatever the phases they have to go through the life, they are fully secured financially and they never have to worry about it.
That is such a vital starting point, and it highlights that education is quite the true bridge between earning an income and actually building long-term wealth. Now let's look at the specific strategy that Primerica has used for decades to help middle-income families. Primerica pioneered a philosophy back in 1977 that focused on solving 2 major needs. First was the income protection, and second was sound investment. Hem, tell us, how does the buy term and invest the difference philosophy work in today's market? And how does your financial needs analysis help clients map out their goals?
So it actually started with the same concept, buy term and invest the difference, because our company was founded back in 1977. And in 2010, it became a public company. And since then, it's on the New York Stock Exchange. But that concept never actually faded away. So that's exactly how we work with our clients. So what that concept talks about is it literally works based on the theory of decreasing responsibility. So let me just explain you for a second. Any Canadian families, typical families, I'm just speaking of, where they have husband and wife, children, and now they just started a family. They own a home now. They both are working. Now, what actually they start doing is obviously they have to start thinking of few things. So they have to think about the protection. That's the first thing. And that's why it's called the foundation of the financial house. Now, protection of the income is very important while they're alive and while they're gone. So that comes in the form of the income protection. It's the foundations. And then they can build their house up by getting into the debt management, by building the wealth for their retirement, also saving money for children's education and so forth. Now, many families, when they don't have those strategies in place, like how the house should be built, then it's almost like a philosophy of building a house, right? So let's say you're a builder and I want to buy a house from you. And I come to you and I would say, Maheen, you know what? I really like my family room. Can you build that first? What would you answer me? You would say that, well, I can build the family room without building the foundation, right? So that's exact construct applies for that terminology of buy term and investor difference. Because you need to protect your income while your family needs that the most. And by the time you're towards the stage of retirement, you have to make sure that you have enough money to live off. So we always make sure that the plan is put in such a way that if something should happen to either one of the breadwinners in the house, then their family is fully protected financially. They never have to compromise their quality of life. They don't have to sell their house. They can still continue living in the house, same quality of life. They can still have the enough funds for the children's education. Surviving spouse still has the enough money to live off now and then in the retirement. But then as the years go by, the obligations go down. Now, what are the obligations? Because keeping in mind, well, when they need the protection, what plays behind the scene is their obligations. So depending on what obligations are in place, that's exactly how that plan is designed. That, for example, how much coverage they should have for the family. And it is based on the total amount of mortgage. It's based on the debt. It's based on the kids' education, final expenses. And that after all of that sums up, how much money they want to leave behind for the family. So if we total that up, like all 5 things, that's the total value of the protection they need as we speak.
Right.
But as the years go by, they're paying off their mortgage, they're paying down the debt. The kids are grown up, they're out of the house, more likely. So they don't have that much obligations by the time they're ready to retire. But at that point now, they need the cash flow. Because if they don't have the cash flow coming in, then again, they get into the phase of compromising their life, which is the life they want to live.
Right.
So this theory of decreasing responsibility, it makes sure all the time for all those clients that when they need the most protection, they have it in place. And then when they need the money to live off, they have enough money to live off.
That is such a practical approach, Hem, and it proves that customized, simple strategies are often the most effective for achieving real financial goals. Now let's shift gears to the professional side and the potential for others to join this field. You view the pursuit of financial freedom as a transformational path, not just for clients, but for those who choose to work in this industry. Hem, tell us, what are the most significant opportunities for individuals that are looking to build a career in financial services today, and what kind of mindset is required to succeed?
Well, first, it has to come with the mindset of entrepreneurship. So there are many individuals. For example, my own story is I started in this industry part-time. So I was working full-time at Bell. I was a senior project manager. My wife was working in the legal industry at that point, but we both decided to get into this industry. I would say more in the beginning, it was just to educate ourselves because financial literacy was always an interesting topic for us. We always wanted to learn more about it because at the end of the day, whatever we do as a trade, we all do it for the money, right? But when the money comes to our bank account, and if you don't have a strategy, if you don't have the plan, if you don't have the education, we don't really know how to manage money. Because in reality, when you look at it, everything else in our life comes with the instruction manual. Whether we buy electronics, whether we buy furniture, whether we buy clothing, anything, except the paycheck. So if you get paid, for example, every bi-weekly, it doesn't come with the instruction manual. But pretend for a second that it does come with the instruction manual. And if he says to you that, you know what, Maheen, make sure that certain percentage of your money goes into savings, certain percentage goes to pay off your debt, certain percentage goes for the living expenses and so on, then it's a clear direction for you and everybody else, including myself.
Right.
But that doesn't happen in reality. So that's what basically my, I would say, the highlight of why we got into this industry, because we wanted to learn. And we understood that Primerica is also a course provider by FISRA. And for us, it was just to follow the system, go through the course, get our license, follow the training path. Because like I said, the company exists since 1977. So it has like a proven system in place. So simply we were following the system and we got through the licensing. And we learned so much just by going through the course. The course is very short. It's literally 2 weekends course, and then it's a crash course. So we got to the course. We learned so much about the industry of insurances, investments, and other laws and contracts. So that's what the first thing people need to understand, that they need a license to work in the industry.
Right.
Okay. Number two, like I said, is they have to have that mindset that this is something totally upon me. And it all depends on how much I want to put in terms of the work. Because if, let's say, I have strong work ethics and I can work for somebody else Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, why can't I work for myself? Right? But I think most people struggle with no schedule.
Right.
Because when you work for yourself, you don't really, yes, you have a schedule, but you don't have a schedule. And that's where I think it's a big gap of understanding that how I can implement everything and then put everything what I got so I can become successful in a short period of time, or it might even take a little bit longer, right? But at the end, you're winning anyways.
Right. That is an inspiring career outlook, Hem, and it emphasizes that inner transformation and community growth are the biggest rewards in this particular profession. Listeners, if you are ready to take control of your future, then please learn from Hem Bhatt about the fundamental values of wealth building, how to protect your family with the financial needs analysis, and why financial literacy is the ultimate key to your long-term freedom. We'll take a short break here. Please don't go anywhere, because when we return, we'll look at how business thinking can be applied to building personal and family wealth.
Hey, you think you know UPS? Yeah, that's us. Everybody knows that. You know what you didn't know? This. Okay, try to keep up. Ocean, us. Ground, rail, air, so us. Guess who? Us. Customs cleared, borders cleared, done. Us. Still with me? Wait for it. Boom. Us. Intelligent, automated, fulfillment. Us. Yep. Healthcare too. Digital your thing? Yeah. Well, book it, ship it, track it. You feeling me yet? Yep. That's all us. That's all UPS.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's continue by breaking down how smart business principles can really strengthen personal financial planning and long-term security. Now let's delve into a broader business concept that help people scale their financial success. Hem, your background in project management and operations, it allows you to look at personal finance through the lens of business efficiency. Tell us which business concepts and strategies are most effective when they're applied to a personal or family financial plan to accelerate wealth building.
So we teach many different concepts and strategies when we meet with the client, and it's a very customized approach. So some individuals, they are working at a job. Some individuals are self-employed, or maybe one is working as an employee, other one is working as a self-employed. Some people have businesses. So not every single strategy will work for every single family. It has to be customized. So the first thing is that the powerful tool I always talk about, and I always do it for our clients, is called financial needs analysis.
Right.
Now, financial needs analysis, it basically focuses on the entire financial house for those families, and it talks about where do they exactly stand, regardless of what they do for trade. So it's about 12 to 15 pages document, and it creates a very strategic plan for those families where they understand fully, number one, is what is my financial independence number? Have you ever heard of that before?
Not at all.
So it's the number which basically represents the dollar value.
Okay.
And it talks about how much money you will need to live off once you're retired. Now, that number represents that. Also, it kind of backtracks and you can connect all the dots with it, because that's the beauty about this plan. Whatever shortfalls you have, whether you're saving money for retirement, saving money for children's education, whether you're building insurance plan for your family, or whether you're paying off the debt, that would be mortgage, line of credit, credit cards, anything else, that gives you clear picture of everything what you're currently doing. So many a times I have discovered, because I meet with one-on-one clients, I do a lot of group talks.
Right.
So I'm also involved in the speaking engagements where I do provide my seminars and webinars to big groups, big companies as well. Now I'll just talk about it, that it talks about your number, which you need to know. You are probably saving money. You can say, yeah, I'm saving money, so I should be good when I'm retired. But then you don't know how much you need to live off. And this plan calculates that. It also talks about the gap of the protection plan you already have versus what you should have. Same thing for the debt strategies, that probably someone has 3, 4, 5 different debt. They're paying off the debt, but they don't know when they will come out of those debts.
Right.
So this plan focuses on the debt freedom date. It tells you exact date when you will become debt free. And same rule applies with the children's education, because this plan calculates based on what university you want your children to go to. So based on that, it will calculate that how much money you will need to send your children to those colleges and universities. So this is about financial needs analysis, and that's the strategy which works for everybody. And also number 2 is when we meet with the families, whether they are business owners, whether they are working at a job, the main aspect for everybody is the tax efficiency and tax deferred programs. So that's another concept of the layer we get into. So our first approach is that when we meet with the clients, I don't want to know anything at this point that what you already have in place, right? I want to just get to know like who am I and what company I work for, and then I just kind of expand on it. And then we get into some concept strategies, and then we walk them through. So now they have the understanding very clearly, and I make it very logical for the client. This technical stuff is good, but it's not for everyone.
True.
Right? So you have to just kind of understand your audience, and then that's how you have to just make it more logical with a lot of examples, a lot of interactive questions and so forth. And that's how now they come to the conclusion that, you know what, yeah, you're so right. This is what I did, but I never had any knowledge about it. I never had any literacy about it, right? And that's why I always say that, the wealth gap, when we look at it, it's not about how much money you make. It's because someone does not have access to the financial literacy, right? Two people making the same amount, living in the same city, but then they both will be different, they're completely apart, like financially, like decades, right? So that's how that works, this whole strategy.
That is such a strategic way to view money, and it confirms that applying disciplined business principles to personal finance, it creates a much more resilient path to freedom. Finally, now, Ahem, let's talk about what's coming up next for you and your team. You have such a major corporate kickoff event coming up on January, or I think it has passed. It was on January 10th, which usually sets the tone for the entire year. Tell us more about this. Like, without going into compliance details, what is the vision for your branch in 2026, and how do you plan to expand your mentoring and your coaching efforts this year?
Our vision is always about the growth of our team rather than focusing more on us. Yes, obviously, it's a collective effort, and then that's how basically everyone grows. But if the growth, in the absence of growth, or that mindset, or the leadership which my team should actually look forward to, I think none of them actually can sustain. So we are constantly talking to our agents. We are constantly providing them one-on-one training. We are also have a branch training which happens every single Saturday, and then all our licensed agents, they come and they attend those trainings. We also have virtual training every Tuesday evening. So that also basically is all about the weekly activities, and it's all about all interactive discussions which happens among the team, what's working, what's not working for them, and then what is really stopping them. And it's all about like a very team effort, team approach, building the team spirit. So that's what it comes down to. So we constantly look about, because we have promotions and everything else in our organization as well. So we are always constantly working with our team to make them understand about what's in it for them this month, right? So we obviously, before the year started, we already talked about the goals for 2026, but then we broke it down.
Right.
So we broke it down. Okay, so when we start in January, what's your goal for January? And it's not just that we just let them know that this is our goal, but we want them to speak. Right? Because I can go, it's so easy for me to tell somebody that, you know what, I want you to do this.
Right.
But then if something is not happening from their end, or something is stopping them, it is not going to happen.
True.
So we always constantly, and my wife is so great at that. She always connects with people, our team. She always talks to them about not just the agents, but also their spouses as well. And it's just the random calls she makes. And then that's how I think it makes it more family culture rather than working just in a corporate culture. So it's always about, like I said, the growth mindset. It's always about building the leadership, because eventually they have to take the leadership.
Got it.
And when someone says to me, I have nobody to lead, but at least there's one person to lead, and that's yourself. Right? So it starts from there, and then that's how it basically works. And we always do different team activities. So not just the business team activities, but we also do outside of the business team activities as well, which also brings the families together, because we want them to know each other. There is not always the corporate relationships, but it's always about knowing the personal level as well. And people just push each other. That's how pretty much the environment is.
That is so ambitious. I mean, such an ambitious vision. And it proves that staying on the life path with your clients is what builds a truly like-minded and a successful community. This was a great conversation, Hem. Thank you for speaking with so much passion to our audience today. Now that we're wrapping up, if there's one key message that you want listeners to remember about starting their journey towards financial freedom, what would it be?
I always say that, everyone has something going on in their life. right? So either it's almost like a roller coaster. People always have some situations happening right now. They come out of it, or before even they come out of it, there's something else waiting for them, right? So when it comes to financial literacy, I always say don't feel embarrassed about anything. Whatever you have in terms of the challenges when it comes to the finances, or you don't know where to start, always seek for the help, right? It's almost like you're not feeling good about yourself and you decide to go see a doctor, okay? Because when you go see a doctor, then you just talk about it, and then based on what it is, then you might have to go for some sort of test and whatnot, and then everything is all right, right, in the end. So that's exactly how we work with our clients as well. And I just tell everybody that even if though you're not client care, you don't have anyone to work with, you always just seek out that advice about what can I do, or this is my situation. I work with all different types of clients. I also provide my services to the government agencies as a part of the speaking engagement, where I help families who have family members with some form of disabilities as well, where they really struggle financially. So our approach is all inclusive. We don't have just exclusivity when it comes to the clients or whatnot. Everyone can be a client. And when we started with the mindset that I want to learn. I want to grow in terms of the mindset. Because regardless of whether I help somebody or not, but if I have a knowledge I can implement in my own financial house, and I can restructure my own financial house, and then I just make it work for my family. Right. And the challenges, like I said, everyone has challenges. We went through so many challenges early enough in our life, especially after our daughter was born. She had medical condition, and even the time when we decided to get into this industry, we're still in it. But then we just decided to just start, because that's the only way you start, right? So I always tell that anyone who wants to just get ahead financially, you can start with the small stuff. It doesn't have to be big. You can always start from small, and you can always get bigger from that point.
Well, that was a powerful and a very actionable message, Hem. Thank you so much for sharing such a great vision and insights with our audience today. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you for having me, and it was such a pleasure.
And that was an insightful conversation with him at Primerica about the importance of financial literacy, the buy-term philosophy, and the transformational power of financial coaching. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. We really appreciate your continued support. Please be sure to subscribe for more expert insights. Visit our website, CanadianSME.ca, for valuable resources. Before we leave, a special shout out to our partners, UPS, Avon Global College, ADP, and Google for their ongoing commitment to empowering small businesses in Canada. Until next time, please keep innovating and striving for success, and we'll see you in the next episode.